Oh, my first question, mainly I'm going to be asking you about your early field experience. Why did you decide to take the early field experience?
I got an email about it one day, and I was just walking down the hall in one of the med buildings, and I immediately was like, "I have to do this. Like, this will just give me that extra, experience." I love to be in the classroom, and the opportunity sounded very interesting to kind of get and like those extra few hours in. Plus, it wasn't much, so it's not like it was going to be too taxing or too stressful or anything. So.
Can you describe what the early field experience is for those who haven't heard about it?
It was just an extra, like, I think it was about 5 days for myself, 15 hours, I wanna say, of extra sort of in-class experience time that you get to be experiencing, an array of different children and teachers too, just being introduced, to sort of the background info a little bit more too of a classroom in Edmonton. So the one teacher that I was in her classroom for the most part, it was she was a grade 4, 5, 6 split kind of severe behavioral classroom. And I was in that room for a bit, and that teacher was so welcoming, just so great, very relaxed, easygoing. And you could tell her patience, like she was just above and beyond with her like ability to work with these kids. She taught me a lot just from being able to watch her. And then the kindergarten classroom that I was in too, that was a really cute room. I've done mostly early ed throughout my life, work and volunteer and stuff like that. So being in kindergarten again felt very normal for me. And it was really great to be there. But I felt a very special bond with the 4, 5, 6 behavioral class because that was very eye opening. And the teacher was just so supportive in that room as well. So she was great. Moving ahead, like any sort of experience in my life, you learn something new every time. You don't think it's going to happen. Like you think you're going to go into a school, you're like, yeah, I've been here, done that, like kind of, mentality. And every time though you go in, there's something new. There's a kid with something you've never worked with before, or even or a staff member that you witness doing something in the hall, or just a simple kindness action that like completely kind of alters your route and your idea and your perception of what a teacher is. And so for me, like this experience was so eye opening in many ways. Like it was very being in that severe behavioral room too taught me that I can do things that I was kind of unsure of too, like working with kids like that. Cause everybody kind of, you get a little weary when you are put into something that's like a severe behavioral room. You panic a little, but the kids are all amazing. The kids are kids and they have their own challenges and you get to support that. And so, yeah, moving ahead into the AFX, I do feel a lot more ready thanks to the early field experience. But yeah, I'm just really excited to learn more in my AFX. So
I was offered a job after actually putting my resume in at the career fair, and I got a position with Peace River School Division. And so I am currently a grade 1 through 3 teacher. So I'm teaching a split grade. The IFX that I did was in a grade 5 class. That was a little bit nerve-wracking, but it was really good. I actually had another student teacher in there with me, and I had an amazing mentor. It was a really good placement. They put me in a grade 5 class for my AFX, and then for my IFX, they put me in grade 2. I was super excited about the grade 5 one because I love the older kids, and that's where I always seen myself. And then I found out I was in grade 2. That was terrifying. But honestly, it was a really good experience because it taught me that I could still teach those kids. And it wasn't just I was able to teach them, which I didn't know if I'd be able to because I'm like, they're so little, they're so young, like everything you do, they suck it in. And but I mean, having that variety of experiences helped me now because I'm in a grade 2 class. So, and I kind of already had an idea of what the curriculum was like. And having that grade 2 placement helped me to implement things into this room that I liked from that. The EdFX 490 placement is one that they offer as an additional placement. And it counts for full credits and you do it during one of your terms. So they placed me in a school that had specific special ed programs, and I would go in once a week, and it was super great because it was very flexible with your schedule. My teacher, or my mentor teacher, and I worked with 10 students in the class, and I would do instructional practices, but I didn't do it nearly the same way I did it in my AFX or my IFX, mostly because it's such a short placement that you jump right in. Like, you don't really do observation days, and then you kind of do it, or at least with my mentor teacher, is what I was comfortable with. So I would do a little bit here and a little bit there, and I kind of gradually built up. So like I would teach science lessons, or I did some math ones. But it was a really good experience just to learn how to work with these kids. Like, I learned how to write IPPs. I learned how to contact parents. I learned how to talk and work with EAs because I had 2 in my classroom full time. So, and that's even different than a standard classroom. So you have to learn to work as a cohort, even within your one little room. But schools really do look for those kind of experiences on your resumes. It's actually the reason my resume got pulled for the school that I'm at now. They straight up told me, they said, your special needs experience is what we were interested in. And so I think having those experiences and being able to use them even in a standard classroom is so useful. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Your profs are there for you, especially when you get into the actual ed courses. They're going to be there to support you. They want to help you. I know a lot of my profs even said, once you're in your field experience, if you're needing help, like, let me know. I'll shoot you some ideas, or we can chat. And I think that makes a world of difference. And like, your mentor teachers, they're going to be good, and they're going to be people that are passionate about teaching, and they're there to help you. So give it your best. Don't be afraid to fail, because mistakes are how we learn. And sometimes you need to learn from a mistake to learn how to properly approach things.
I graduated from the Faculty of Education in 2019. I was working as a science teacher and social studies teacher last year in junior high. And this year, during our unique COVID-19 year, I am working as a dedicated replacement teacher. So what that means is, at my school, I am the person that if a teacher were to get sick, or if they have an appointment, or whatever the case is, that I would be the substitute that is there right on the spot. When I'm not doing that, when I'm not subbing, I am working with students that need more help in each class. So I have a specific group of kids that I work with, and I follow a schedule. So it can be with math help or science help. It can be reading one-on-one with them. And that's what I'm doing when I'm not subbing. My favorite one has to be the EdFX class that you take before your IFX. My instructor at the time, she was trying to put us in different scenarios. So let's say a student is chatting over here, for example. How would you react? And we did this as a class together. She gave us her own experience in the classroom, different strategies that we can use. And I really liked that class because I was able to right away implement it into my IFX. Another one that we took was on like cultural representation and understanding the different levels that kids come in with, let's say in terms of English language learners, and whether they are coded, or if they have any difficulties with certain subjects. What are some strategies that we can use, but also to give us a bit of background on, how can we try to help them to achieve their goals and still try to maintain their inclusivity within our classroom as a whole. And another course that I took was on creating different assessments, which I found very, very helpful, because being in my IFX and not having that background, making tests or making assignments, the class itself was combining everyone, whether you were a science major, social studies, drama, whatever the case was, brought us together, and it allowed us to go back and forth with what kind of things we can try with our classes in the future. How can we make sure that we're marking them for what they can actually do rather than, sticking to a 5-point scale. What can they actually show us as evidence of learning? And with that being said, also, I wasn't a social studies major or minor. I was biology and chemistry. So taking that class and being able to also interact with other people who were outside of my subject comfort area was really nice, because I was able to get a lot of ideas from them as well. IFX that I did was in a high school setting. So I taught Science 24, and therefore I taught students who were in grade 11 and 12. And I always loved high school. I came out of my IFX. I loved it. And I was like, I definitely would go to high school in the future. And even before before I completed my IFX, I loved high school and I wanted to be a high school teacher. I got my AFX assignment and I was in the junior high. So I really, really tried to take what I had experienced in my IFX and how can I then include that into my AFX, even though it is in a junior high setting. I actually really, really enjoyed teaching junior high during my AFX. I felt that the connections I was able to create with those students, being with them each day or having a homeroom even, just being able to interact with them more on a one-on-one basis and get to know them, we were able to create a strong classroom relationship together. And so I found that I really, really enjoyed that aspect of junior high. And I also really liked the program of studies that I was teaching. And after that, my first job was actually in a junior high, and I'm still in junior high. My field experience associate that I had for my AFX had the biggest impact on me. She was so open and gentle with myself and the other student teachers, just to let us know that if something doesn't go as we plan, that's just the nature of it. She had a lot of experience behind her, and she wanted to let us know that she was there for us. And the way that she was there for myself and for the other student teachers at the school really inspired me to be there for my students, whether it be during my AFX or whether it be my students the year after and this year. She was there to always remind us that we have to build that relationship with our students, most importantly, because the students want to be able to learn from us and we want to be that role model for them. So if we can be there for them and build that sense of community, then that's the most important to them, because that's what brings them to school, is being in a welcoming environment where they want to come to school. I did end up actually, because I was in the same area that my AFX school was in. So last year, during my first year, I did actually end up seeing her again because we did have some student teachers at the school. And I just felt so grateful to be able to see her and to say that I was teaching. It was my first year, and she was still so supportive. She wanted to come in and see my students, and she just wanted to reaffirm how proud she was of me and how strongly of a relationship I was able to build with my students that she had seen. The IFX and AFX experience are the most rewarding parts of your journey through becoming a teacher. It's your experience that you are going to take with you as you go forward. I always tell the story of how I believe it was my first observation day in my IFX, because we had 3 observation days and I was in a high school. And I heard a group of boys that were on a football team with the school. They were talking about football. And I thought, okay, I need to step out of the box a little bit. I need to go and just, introduce myself and talk to them and, see what they enjoy about being on the football team. So it really helped me to step out of my comfort zone. And I was able to do that in my IFX and take that with me into my AFX. So you really have to step out of, if you are a shy person, try something new. Try to say, hey, did you guys see, this movie on TV last night? Or just try to relate to them. If somebody's a dancer or they play basketball, try to get to know them, because that's the most important part. And they love to have conversations with you. So you must form that relationship with them. Your mentor teachers as well, they're always there for you. So if you feel like you're alone, you're not, because they are always there for you. They want you to succeed. and they are your number one resource. If you feel like something isn't going to work, talk to them about it. And the thing is that a lot of things aren't going to work. You know, the subjects that I taught in my AFX were the same subjects that I actually was teaching in my first year. And even though it was the same, there were still things, and there are still things that I'm like, okay, I need to do this differently for next time when I'm teaching it. Because for each group of kids, it's going to be different. And I would also say, as a student teacher, definitely keep a journal or a book or something where you can reflect, because that reflection and the way that you're thinking is what's going to help you to open up and also recognize what you want to change or what you want to take forward with you. And anything that I wrote down in my journal, if I wanted to do something different in a lesson, for example, or the way I was feeling, I would actually tell my mentor teacher that, and he was able to get a better picture of what my planning process was. So we were able to really work together and team together. And even try getting involved in different extracurricular activities in the school. I helped with coaching teams. I helped with being on the student council teams. So you have to put yourself out there, but it may seem scary at first, but when the kids get to know you and who you are, then things become so much easier. You're willing to open up and talk to them. They see you in the hallways and they say hi, and they know who you are and they gravitate towards you.